Some losses don't just take a family's joy, they rob an entire town of its peace. On Christmas Eve of 1945, in the quiet town of Fayetteville, West Virginia, a single night sparked a mystery that has remained unsolved for decades. 5 children vanished without a trace. It was a festive winter night. The Sodder family's home was glowing with the warmth of holiday spirit. George and Jenny Sodder were celebrating Christmas Eve with their 9 children. Gifts were stacked under the tree, and laughter echoed through the cozy wooden house. At exactly 12:30 a.m., the phone rang. Jenny Sodder, half asleep, opened her eyes. It was strange to get a call at that hour. She slipped out of bed and walked to the hallway to pick up the receiver. A woman's voice came through, unclear, almost slurred. Is this the right place? Are you there? She asked. Jenny, puzzled, replied, Who are you trying to reach? This is the Sodder residence. Laughter and glass clinking echoed in the background. Jenny shivered slightly. I think you have the wrong number, she said and hung up. But as soon as she did, an odd sense of unease crept in. When she walked downstairs, she noticed the lights were still on, the front door slightly ajar, and the kitchen light glowing. It seemed like some of the kids might still be awake, yet the house was eerily quiet. She turned off the lights and went back to bed, unaware that the strange phone call may have been something more, a warning. At 1 a.m., a loud bang on the roof jolted Jenny awake again, followed by the sound of something rolling down. Then the smell of smoke began to seep into the room. George jumped up, rushed into the hallway, and was met with the sight of thick black smoke pouring from the kitchen. Flames were spreading rapidly. The cause of the fire was unclear, but George would later suspect that something had been thrown onto the roof. Maybe this fire wasn't an accident. They scrambled to wake the children. 5 of the kids, who were sleeping on the ground floor, were rushed outside, but the other 5, who were asleep upstairs, were unreachable. The staircase was engulfed in flames. There was no way up. George tried climbing to their window, but the heat was unbearable. He ran to grab the ladder from the side of the house, but it was gone. The water barrel outside was frozen solid. The family's trucks, George's usual way to climb, refused to start. The fire raged for just 45 minutes, but in its wake, 5 children were simply gone. By morning, the house was reduced to ashes, but something wasn't right. George and Jenny expected to find remains, at least bones, but there was nearly nothing. Authorities quickly labeled the fire an electrical malfunction, but George didn't buy it. The house's wiring had recently been upgraded, and strangely, the Christmas lights were still glowing when the fire began. Jenny couldn't stop thinking about the bones. She recalled how even when meat burned in the oven, bones remained. How could 5 children completely vanish in less than an hour without a trace? George began digging through the ashes with his own hands, searching for answers. He found no bodies, but he did find unburnt papers, melted phone wires, and strange pieces of metal. Even more suspicious, before the fire started, the phone line had been cut. The ladder was missing, the water barrel frozen, and both trucks, known to be in working condition, suddenly wouldn't start. Jenny lay awake night after night, haunted by one thought. What if they weren't inside the house at all? What if they were taken? Soon reports began to surface. Some locals said they'd seen a strange car near the house that night. Others claimed to have seen the children with an unknown adult days after the fire. A truck driver said he saw them near a gas station several miles from the home. A waitress told police that 5 children who looked like the Sodder kids came into her restaurant just days later. But none of these statements ever made it into official records. Police either ignored them or dismissed them as unreliable. But the Sodder family couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just a fire. This was something else. Over the years, mysterious letters and phone calls started arriving. In 1968, Jenny received a photo of a young man. On the back was scribbled, Louis Sodder, I love it, I'm fine, with my brothers. 1329, Sirote, Italy. The man in the photo looked eerily like their missing son, Louis. They hired a private investigator to travel to Italy. But he never came back. George passed away in 1969. Jenny kept the memory alive until her own death in 1989. She built a billboard near their home with the photos of the 5 missing children. Above them, a single question: where are they? The Sodder family never believed their children died in that fire, and they never stopped looking. That Christmas Eve didn't just destroy a home, it ignited a mystery that burned for decades. 5 children, gone in a blaze, but without ashes, without bones, without answers. And if someone out there still knows the truth, they haven't said a word. Some places scream in silence. Duskwood High was one of them. A disappearance in the spring of 2003 shattered the ordinary quiet of this small town forever. Duskwood is a quiet, misty town tucked away in the northern part of Maine, surrounded by dense forests. Time seemed to move slower there. The population was small, the faces familiar. At the heart of the town stood the old Duskwood High School, over 50 years old and almost a symbol of the town itself. But for some, this school was more than just an academic institution. Behind the school stood a forgotten structure, the old observatory. Once used by the biology and astronomy clubs, it had been sealed off years ago, labeled unsafe. Among students, it was known as the Black Eye. It had turned into something of a legend. Lydia Barnes was a 16-year-old student, quiet, curious, and academically brilliant. She was an active member of the astronomy club. She had an almost obsessive love for the sky, for star maps, for the unknown universe. Her teachers described her as a mind that thinks, but always walks alone. Her journal often contained the words unknown, darkness, and observation. On March 23, 2003, a special event was held for school clubs. Students were allowed to explore old school archives and document abandoned areas. Lydia, long fascinated by the Black Eye, decided to go there alone. She packed her bag, prepared carefully, and at 8:30 p.m. sent her last message from her phone. Heading to the Black Eye, might just bust that old myth, maybe even catch a star. That would be her last message. At 8:43 p.m., her phone emitted its final signal, inside the observatory. Then, silence. The next morning, Lydia was gone. Her friends hadn't seen her, and she hadn't contacted anyone. Her teachers reported her absence. Local authorities immediately launched a search around the school. The path to the observatory was muddy and swampy. No footprints were found. Not Lydia's, not anyone else's. The door to the observatory was shut and locked. Police broke it open. Inside, no personal belongings, no signs of struggle. But on the inner wall, written in a reddish substance, was one message. I'm watching you all. No blood, no fingerprints, no clues. The door had been locked from the inside, but there was no one inside. Investigators focused on 3 theories. 1. Escape. Could Lydia have run away? But she had no travel plans, no supplies, and no footage showed her leaving the school. Second, accident. Rumors suggested old service tunnels beneath the observatory. Maybe Lydia fell in, but no tunnels were ever found. 3. Paranormal. Whispers returned, claims that the observatory had become something else. Some believed it opened not to the sky, but to something beneath. 7 years later, in 2010, another student claimed to find an old zipper near the observatory. They thought it might be from Lydia's bag, but no DNA test could confirm it. To this day, her family leaves flowers by the observatory every March 23rd. Locals say they still see a figure in the window at night. While Lydia searched the stars, maybe what found her wasn't from the sky, but from the darkness. And Duskwood has been colder and quieter ever since. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Don't forget to like and stay tuned for more stories. See you soon.